good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. I'm so glad that you're listening to Living Truthfully. My name is Amani Maranga, and I'm glad that you're here listening to this podcast. I'm also glad that you're sharing, and you're giving us feedback on this podcast. And, ladies and gentlemen, please keep it coming, because this feedback is life. Now, last week I started a conversation with Dr. Oscar. We discovered that a lot of us are in hostage situations. Is your relationship a hostage situation? Is your job? I'm sure most jobs are hostage situations. You know what? I want to continue that conversation with Dr. Oscar. He has some pretty important things to say. So, kama kawaida, vuta stool. Bring your cup of tea. This time you might need a pen and a notebook. And then get ready, because we're seconds away. Round 5. And I have to say, these conversations contain mature themes, and listener discretion is advised. So here goes. Dr. Oscar, what? But you say such profound things. Okay, so I have another question for you.
Yeah.
I was talking to Chris Hart. And that mzee has a few interesting things to say.
Dr. Hart.
Dr. Hart.
Yes.
So Dr. Hart suggested
Yes.
that in the dating game, it's the women who choose who the mate is, and not us guys, not the men.
Oh, absolutely.
No, you can't agree with the guy. Listen, dude, when you're hitting on a mama,
oh my goodness,
it's you hitting on the mama. It's me choosing, this is the mama I'm gonna hit on. Okay? And then me going now after what I want. And in my mind, the myth I've always believed is if a guy, pangas his story well, his game is right, he's persistent enough, in a sense to show that I really am interested, then the mama is gonna ingia box. Kumbe, you are the ones being gizzard box. I really, really don't like this conversation.
So, Amani, I'm here to even add your depression more.
Good.
Now, I'm going to even take his conversation further and zoom out and not just even talk about that truth that he said and he shared. But what I'm going to say is that women have a cycle, a monthly cycle, that is biological, but it's also very primal. And research has actually been done to tell you who a woman is likely to choose. Again, not so what happens is, like you as a man, it depends on what stage of the cycle she is at for you to actually be successful or not be successful. Let me even make it more. let me so it's basically like you're playing. It's unbelievable. I mean, when you learn that, it is so refreshing and so interesting. Human biology is unbelievable. I'll even talk to you about men and their biology, because we don't think we have cycles. Actually, we do. But here's the thing. For women, when they're ovulating, they look for genetic selection. What does that mean? Tall, dark, handsome. Tall
and in the dark, handsome.
Yes. Exactly, especially in the dark. The tall, dark. Okay, basically that to
so
to
stand
stand for
might, that protector.
Yes, so they're looking for those genetic markers that say that those genes will survive beyond my children, my children's children. So they're selecting for a mate that is genetically endowed. What does that mean? It means that even if the guy with the 8-pack and the 6-pack imagines that it's because he has game or he has a 6-pack, it's only for when she's ovulating. That's 7 days of the month. Okay? Or about 10. I don't know how many there are. Then she goes into a lull, into what people call the PMS, and then she goes into the period and whatever it is. Around that time, she's looking for the sensitive nurturer. Somebody who's going to be sensitive, not cut with her, not brief and short with her. Someone not only who's going to be a person who's sensitive with her, but sensitive with her offspring. So that's the thing. Someone who's not going to kill the offspring she gets. So at a very biological and deep whatever, that's when I start looking at things, qualities of a guy with money, a guy with education, a sensitive guy, God-fearing, well-traveled. So the attributions that are not physical, that's when they get activated. So if you're the guy who's exposed widely, whatever, if you're throwing poyos, that's a throwback right there. There are guys who don't even know what that is. But I'm just doing that for the OGs.
Yeah. All of you that are wondering what poyos are, call this number 072727272. Send some M-Pesa. We shall send you.
We shall decode it.
We shall decode it and send you some poyos you can use yourself.
You can use yourself, exactly. So it becomes that now they're looking for a mate that is more reliable emotionally. And so when you know that on the grander scale, you'll stop asking women the irrelevant questions.
So what should I ask him? Are you on your periods?
Now, well, if you don't get slapped, look. But I'm just saying, in terms of like just approaching the question of the dating game from just a purely human perspective of just getting to know the person before looking for the end game. The woman has really selected or not selected you. So just be easy and fall in line. Basically, you know, I was talking to my students, and I was talking to a group of women the other day, and I was telling them about rejection and that they need to learn about rejection because men are rejected daily.
We are rejected every day.
And we have the rejection muscle is really strong. But for many women, it's not really that developed. So imagine if, as a woman, you approach a guy and then he says no, that really scars you, and it really makes you wonder what's wrong with you. And yet it's a human condition. I mean, we as men get rejected all the time.
Every single day.
And so for
sometimes
men,
thrice.
Yeah, and that's why I tell men, you know what, yes, you might want a certain woman so much or really want to follow her. But it's just about, you know, when is it that you're talking to her? What's going on? You know, and again, sending M-Pesa will probably unlock the questions to ask. But basically, I mean, there is that. I really agree with Dr. Hart's analysis about.
So, what are the men cycles? Or what are the men biological?
So, men are equipped with the destructive hormone, testosterone, and it's destructive because in large doses, testosterone actually starts attacking your body as opposed to helping it. So it's what helps you build muscle. It's what helps you break your voice. It's what makes you lose your hair. It's what gives you that aggression, which is under what many people who are XY chromosomally are very, are astute at. So what happens with men is that testosterone has a cycle which dips. I was reading a research paper once that was talking about the cycle being about every 18 days.
Oh, really?
So it's like a rapid cycle. So the days when you're going to wake up and you'll feel, I can take over the world, I can do a lot, I'll accomplish a lot, I'll record 25 episodes of my
podcast. I'm on the move.
Right? And then there are days when you don't even want to see a microphone. You don't want to interact with people. And you're not depressed, really. It's just a dip in tea. And so, in fact, what men are usually asked to do is to go and look at your levels of T in your body and and see if it's regulated enough to actually know if you're operating optimally. So of late, I've just been very, very interested in this, biochemical balances in our bodies. Even as we talk about these things sociologically, psychologically, and all that stuff, on the very bedrock we have is biology, what we can't run away from. And then we build on that with experiences, environment, socialization, families we come from, all that stuff, the pain, cycles, all that stuff. And but the biology is really key to even understand where we're coming from. There are guys who have more T than others, and you find them in more trouble than other people. In fact, in the prison system in the US, they're now trying to experiment with the opposite of testosterone is oxytocin. The love drug.
I was going to say estrogen, but then
well, estrogen, but there's a component called oxytocin, and that hormone is the love hormone. And in research studies that have been done about, there are two Rouge teams playing, and one of them was injected with oxytocin and the other one was injected with testosterone. And so they played with each other, so the behavior was funny. The ones who had testosterone were just like basically running through their opponents, crushing them, scoring tries left, right and center. The guys with oxytocin were sharing, they were caring. When one guy was somewhat or he was down, they all come to his aid and like, oh my God, what's happened to you? So oxytocin is the cooperation hormone. Testosterone is the isolation hormone. So it's kind of like the more T you have in your body, the less you're able to even look at your peripherals. You're actually just concerned with yourself. It's like a selfish hormone, and it just wants to procreate. That's the problem. So sometimes even for men, even as we try to decode the pain cycles and all that stuff, we need to actually say, for the people who are endocrinologists, the guys who study hormones and stuff, it might be time, man. It might be time to just actually start saying, am I balanced or am I not? Just a twist, huh?
I don't like you guys, Bana. You psychologists. In fact, you're banned from my podcast from now on. So, someone emailed me.
Okay.
We shall call him R.O. And he said something interesting. He's a dude, he just stumbled upon my podcast. He's been binge listening on it.
Yeah.
He says, I'm 26, turning 27 later this year. And to be quite honest, I haven't had much of a male presence in my life. I was raised by a single mom with 2 younger sisters and an extended family that's predominantly female. Think the Amazonians.
Wow.
So relating to men, as it were, has been difficult to say the least. The only organic relationships I've fostered with men have been where I've actually sought the guys, looked to build a mentorship friendship with them, and that's hard. I lost my mom in 2017, and to be honest, I've been in a bit of an identity crisis. I was, probably still am, a mama's boy. But now I'm looking at my life and wondering, I can't live for my mom anymore. But I don't know what being a man technically is. Then he goes on to say about what the podcast has done for him.
Okay.
When my heart went out to this guy, to Aru, and I want to say thank you for writing in.
Yeah.
What do you tell him about what being a man is?
Wow. That's wow. Aro, thank you again. I mean, I think that what's giving us the fuel, both Amani and I, to keep doing what we're doing is the feedback we're getting.
And I told him this feedback is life, man.
It is. I mean, if we didn't get this kind of feedback, I don't think you and I would be doing what we're doing.
No, we wouldn't.
And in fact, I think part of why I had not even started my podcast sooner was just waiting and seeing, because sometimes you want to see what kind of response we're going to get before you pull the trigger. But then now we're going to do it, and I'm just excited about that. That more men are coming out, and at the right time.
At the right time.
To speak about the things that they're worried about, that they're concerned about, because RO is a symbol of a lot of men who are in that kind of position, and probably they've not even lost their mom. They probably even have both parents there, but maybe dad is not present, and and they identify more with their mothers. RO, the first thing about being a man is not what you've been told. It's not about a man being someone that's aggressive or that doesn't listen to other people. A lot of the things that you've gotten from the women in your life are important, because a man is made out of 2 chromosomes, X and Y. The X represents what you get from women, and that's okay. The Y is what you get from men, and probably that's what you're wondering what that is. Traditionally, we were told that men were the people who said things and they never listened, and they just had to be leaders automatically. Leadership does not come from the air. It comes from observing, from mentorship, from those things you're trying to do. It's not late. It's not too late for you. In fact, even if you're 36 or 46, I'll tell you exactly the same thing, that knowing that you need that kind of mentorship is the first place to start.
And it's a very manly thing to do.
It is.
To ask the right questions.
That's right, yes.
And to seek the answers.
Absolutely.
That's a very manly thing to do, because it shows leadership.
Absolutely. And using a sports analogy, when Michael Jordan was retiring from the basketball scene, a few younger players at the time, Kobe Bryant, people like Allen Iverson, were actually coming up in the league at the same time, and what they did, instead of being alpha males and just not listening or not listening to essentially the king, they actually sought him out and asked him for advice and said, what can we do to actually better what you've done? And I think that is so amazing if you can be able to get that arrow. You know, Amani and I will be starting congregations of men where we'll be talking to each other more intimately than we are right now on the podcast. But what I can say is, seek out that man, start looking for examples of good men who are actually doing well in the society, in the community. Being a good man is not about how much you have in the bank. Being a good man is not about how many women you can be able to bag. Being a good man is not about being number one in everything you do. Being a man is about remembering that you are essentially allowed to be on earth to fulfill a purpose, to be a future leader of some kind, to collaborate with people and communities. You're supposed to be the strength, and not physically necessarily, but the strength in terms of just being even keeled. Anger does not look good on men. It actually is destructive. So you don't wear anger and quick tempers. It's about being more measured, and even when everybody else is out of control, you kind of keep your even keel and ask yourself the question, you know, have I heard what they've said clearly before you react? Being a man is not about reacting, it's about responding.
It's about responding. You need to think through.
Thinking through things, yes. Yeah. And so, yes, there might be so many bad examples of men out there, which I agree. But I think that they're now starting to become people who are good examples. Being vulnerable and being what you've just done, that's a good place to begin as a man.
You know, I like what you're saying, because, you know, RO, for me, manhood is about being real, being true to yourself.
That's right.
And that is something you can learn.
Yes.
Something you can teach yourself. Manhood is about taking initiative.
That's right.
You know? And you've done it, you know? And I want to affirm the man in you, Aro, and say you've done it. You've taken initiative. You're looking out there for men. That's manhood right there. And I think manhood in some ways is also seeking knowledge so that you can rise above your circumstances.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So that you're able to see things from a bird's eye view. You know, so that if there's a fight, you have the right aptitude to zoom out.
That's right.
And see what is this thing and how can I sort it out and then take initiative on it. And Aro, thanks for reaching out, and just know you have us.
Absolutely. And Amani, you're right. I mean, and it's not going to be easy necessarily, Aro, because as you said, you know, you've hung around women majority of your life. And I always say that a tall tree usually has deep roots, and it's going to take a while for you to get to the bottom of those roots. And by the way, you're not pathological in any way. So I just also don't want you to imagine that you have a problem.
You don't have a problem.
No, as many men have grown up in the world, and you know, around women, it's great. You know, maybe there's a few things we could learn from women about how to become human. At essentially, that is where we need to begin.
True. That's true.
How to be human first, even before, you know, diverting into whether you're male or female. I mean, there's some things that are common to all of us. And I think, you know, just reaching out and listening to where we're going to be meeting with guys and sharing a cup of coffee.
Before we talk about your podcast and maybe bring this to a shutdown, though, you know, you and I, we can talk forever. Eh?
Well, yeah, exactly.
We can.
We normally do.
I want to address some of the female feedback that I've gotten.
Great.
And listen, chicks, msizoe, this is a dude space, eh? But for the sake of my brothers who have to deal with you, not maybe 2-3 days ago, a friend of mine, a lady, who's trying to date a guy just like me, divorced, but he's currently going through his divorce, so he's not done.
Yeah.
And you know, they have known each other since they were kids. This is like the love of her life.
Okay.
From those days. And I have to say, the reason I'm asking, I have a selfish reason for asking this particular question, because being a divorced guy, and now considering getting back into the dating scene, and maybe having some near misses here and there.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna be really honest. So this is living truthfully.
Yes.
I think I'm very hard to date.
Okay.
I'm very hard to date because I'm injured. I'm scarred.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what she was going through. This person is going through.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like I'm ready for commitment. For many reasons, and I've given myself good reasons, which include my children and time to grow and things like that. Finding myself, like I've rationalized some reasons, but I'm commitment phobic right now. Secondly, I'm not sure I know what I want.
Okay.
Maybe when I see it, I'll probably sabotage it because I'm a giver and I don't know how to receive love.
Okay. Wow. It's profound.
You understand? So I know how to give.
Yeah.
Happy. I'm in control of that. When I need to be vulnerable to the space of
being given,
I don't know how to receive that, and I feel like I don't deserve it. And I feel like that was a conversation, this other guy could be going through. Yeah. Because if he, like me, I don't know him, but if he, like me, was the villain, quote unquote, in his relationship, then he doesn't feel like he deserves
That's
love.
right. In fact, that's what I was going to say, that, it's what we call self-recrimination, the overwhelming guilt from past relationships and things. And Amani, you and I went through your journey of life, and there are many places where you blamed yourself or even blamed other people in your life. And yeah, you're right in terms of like, the goodness about it is that you're sensible enough to look at yourself and see where you are and take a gauge. Right? And you see, it doesn't mean that you'll never be ready.
Yeah, no.
And so, and then also the pressure should never be on anyone, including your friend, to get into a relationship or to date. And sometimes the best people we have in our lives are the ones we're the most intimate with. And that's not necessarily the person you're dating.
So the question is for this mama, and I hear you, thank you for affirming this for me.
Yeah.
How do you deal with someone like me? How do you deal with someone whose insecurities have grown so much more because of this period?
Yeah.
Okay, this very specific period that the divorce and separation happens. How do you deal with someone like this? Is there room for this chick, or does she need to?
The magic word: unconditional love. If someone is only in your life because of what they want as an end game, which means being with you forever in their head, then they shouldn't even be there. She needs to reevaluate why she wants that guy. If it's about ending up with him, she probably needs to take a step back. The reality is that she needs to be empathic enough to not want him to rush the process, to not want him to rush the grieving of the loss of relationship, to not rush him to schedule how the kids will be picked up or will be seen just because she's there. Those are all selfish reasons. And if someone cannot be able to see what you're going through, Amani, they don't deserve you. I think you're in a better space now, even giving to the rest of the world. And a time will come, of course, for you to be loved back. And I know that we love you. I mean, I love you.
Thanks,
like
man.
a brother. And
love you, man.
and you have that space. And I know, of course, it's not the same as the love of a partner. And because we have these people who love us around us. But it's a deeper question of saying that, are you ready to engage in a new set of responsibilities that come with a romantic relationship, and even having gone through the question of intimacy, passion, as well as commitment? And even as you're saying you're commitment phobic, remember we talked about those three things? Can you imagine right now the only person that might fit in your life is someone who's big on passion or intimacy?
Yeah,
mostly intimacy, probably, who will connect with you with the depth of whatever you're talking about, and even her herself telling you, sharing. And then what's going to end up happening is that you're going to be so intimate with each other, you'll forget to decide whether you want to commit, or even the passion around you. So, and then at the tail end of you dealing with your issues, you're left bare, and now you don't have anything to talk about because what was bringing you guys commonly together was the termination of a relationship or what you're dealing with. Now you don't have anything to talk about with this person because essentially they were your therapist.
I hear you, but this is exactly what I told her. I told her unconditional love. This is exactly what you said. But as I said it, I felt selfish. So she's trying to get this guy to this point where the end game works. And this guy is dealing with, I call it juggling grenades. Because when there are things that if a ball drops, it explodes. Like it's not just juggling balls, it's juggling grenades. You know, if it drops,
that's it.
We're dead.
That's it.
And I feel selfish for wanting unconditional love without giving you back anything. Now, I know I don't have anything to give you. Now, I know that for sure. I'm like, I know if you come into my life as a mama right now, you'll be giving, and you'll be giving to a guy who doesn't know how to receive, number one, yes. But number two, who has nothing to give you back.
And that's it.
Isn't that a very selfish place to be as a dude as well?
Look, I don't judge it as selfish. In fact, I don't even view it as selfish. I think it's the right thing for you to do at the time because you're avoiding a toxic engagement. Because what's going to happen is if you enter into a normal relationship, so to speak, whatever normal means, is that person's going to be in your life expecting you to be a reloaded guy. Like, reset button. Like starting from zero. It's like you've never dated before. It's like you don't have all this experience behind you. And the question becomes, Amani, for you, the woman that needs to be with you has to be, oh my goodness, I'm telling you, she has to be emotionally astute. She has to be so intelligent as well to be able to know what you're dealing with and emotionally mature enough to allow you the space to vent, to rant, to regress, to come and be in this man cave of yours. She has to do all those things. The question is there such a person? Because again, at that point, then there's a danger. And that's why I'm saying she needs to be emotionally mature. There's a danger of someone coming and saying, even when you're down, I was the one who was there for you. Now, the games that human beings play with each other is basically holding each other hostage emotionally. Because we're taking each other hostage, man. You must love me because I did ABCD for you and dare you walk away. How attractive is that?
It's not.
Bro? That's what most people are in. In fact, if you ask most people who are in relationships right now, they are in hostage situations. Just because of the day when you got a puncture or something, someone came to your rescue, all of a sudden, now you're holding them. Now you owe them. And now it's almost like guys are afraid of saying what they really need. Women are afraid of saying what they need. And now it's like you're walking on eggshells all the time. And so the only place that's saving people, saving in quotes, of course, is IG and Facebook. So we look okay. But if you actually touch the surface, scratch the surface, it's hollow. It's hollow because people are just in hostage. Like I'm telling you, like right now, man, you're attractive. You're attractive in all the ways that somebody might actually be looking for. But then, right before we entered here, we talked about...
We had this kind of... All right, let's get into it.
We talked about how men and women interact.
Yes.
And what men and women hear. So I said, when it comes to handling truth, men seem to be a bit better. And I could be biased and I could be wrong and I stand corrected.
I'm with you on this one.
And I could...
Because as we hear what is said, it hurts us. If it's a hurting truth, but we deal with the truth. We deal with the facts.
You're told the facts, and so you go from your logical and rational self and you say, my goodness, I can't believe she told me ABCD. She's going through a divorce. She's going through these things. Oh my God, I can't believe it. Or rather, she's just gone through a divorce. She has this kid she has to share custody with. Or oh my God, that's not the ideal situation. But you know what? Let me even stay away from her for a bit.
Or just she deals with that issue. Like we deal with the reality.
Yes, you deal with the reality. But most women are sitting there and you're telling them, I'm a recently divorced man, I have children that I need to be planning for, I have my career that I don't have anything to give. Amani, you've said them all on air. You've said, I don't have anything to give. The person who's coming is going to be the one giving and I'm not going to give them anything. But you know what some people are hearing? They're hearing themselves. what they want. So it means that a lot of women, as they're sitting down and being told the truth by men especially who've gone through a lot of hurtful things and hurting things, and maybe they're trying to rebuild themselves, they don't listen to what the guy is saying. They listen to themselves and the end game. So your friend needs to ask herself, is she listening to the guy or is she listening to herself? If you really love someone, or if you really care about someone, you'll find time for them. That is hostage taking 101. And what I think we need to actually understand right now is we need to become authentic. And your podcast title is Living Truthfully, and it's time for the truth. Dude, there's no more time for hostage taking. For all the men listening to this, all the women listening to this, you're not going anywhere. You're going to be alive, you're going to thrive, you're going to do well. But the first condition you have to meet for that to happen is you've got to really look at yourself and ask yourself, why is the person in your life there? Are you holding them hostage? Are you really just coming up with your list of things they must fulfill for you to be happy? Who are you? At the end of the day, the question becomes, why do you imagine that anybody should suspend their own happiness, their own life, their own craft, their own building themselves for your happiness? What is so important about your own happiness? And by the way, I'm not knocking chicks. I'm knocking both men and women. That is a problem. It's like we walk in with this list of demands. It's like we are lawyers who are taking people hostage, and you have these things that someone has to sign at the bottom. Then it's contracts that have not even been discussed. So next week you're in trouble and you don't even know why you're in trouble. We need to start examining how we are living and asking ourselves if we are better off with each other or without each other.
And on that bombshell, anyway. So,
I know maybe that I might get some flack on my own, but
no, you need security. We'll provide security for you.
No, but I'm just speaking my truth.
No, and I agree with your truth.
Yeah, speak my truth.
So I don't even want to talk about your podcast first because I have a question. I have another question for you. Sorry, bro.
It's okay.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm actually, I think these topics excite me, and even right at this moment, I think my blood is pumping more because they're very rare forums like these ones. And if they're there in the first place, and if they're there, they're normally colored by something else, which makes people avoid, whether it's religion, whether it's organizational, whether it's family traditions, whether it's culture, which people don't even understand what it is, but they throw it in there just to caution themselves. But I think that at the end of the day, ultimately, man, how I feel now is that, it's our responsibility somehow to speak what's in our heart, and to, by the time we die, Amani, I'm hoping that we do this for years and years and years.
50 at least.
Right? 50 at least. And we say that, we left it all on the table.
Yeah.
And at least to the best of our knowledge and to the best of our ability, that we did it from a good place. And it was not manipulative in any way. We're just speaking what we thought. And of course, there's going to be very many contrarian views, which is great.
And they're welcome here. I mean,
absolutely.
if you're of a different difference of opinion, please bring it here.
And you see, there's a man that I love listening to. He's a psychologist as well, and he says, to be able to think, you've got to risk offending other people.
And bro, you dropped bombshells today. I don't know what's wrong with you.
That's what happens when I go to America.
America. You're a dad.
Yes.
You have a young one.
Yes. She's turning 1 on Thursday.
Yeah. Every time I call you, you're always daddying.
Yeah.
I hear her in the background.
Absolutely.
You're always daddying.
Yeah.
How is that for you?
Well, look, let me tell you. It keeps you honest. It's amazing. I mean, I think for me, it's been an amazing journey. I cut her umbilical cord.
Wow. I did the same for my son as well. Yeah.
That's amazing. And so just watching her grow and having that bond, reminds you why you need to be authentic and why you need to be truthful in the way you live. And especially, when you see the helplessness and the transformation of a human being, I probably have an advantage over many other people, probably just because of my background being a psychologist. But that does not mean that I navigate it any different from any other.
Are you
human
already
being.
shrinking your daughter? Is this what you're doing?
That's what I'm saying, that it does not work. Try shrinking, she'll duck. But I mean, it's a great thing. I think it's a blessing. You know, and my wife as well, just seeing the transformation of her becoming this, you know, woman and this mother is not an easy thing. And that's why I was even talking about the transformations, about, you know, accepting things graciously and gracefully through different stages of life. Where I am right now also, it's about responsibility. It's about, you know, really just reaching out to people and finding out what is the best version of who they are. How can we all attain it? So I want the best for my daughter. I want the best for my wife. I want the best for myself. And for any people that I come into contact with, that nowadays it's about, can I deposit in your bank? That's something that's not pain, but that's actually healing. It's basically like, that's a deposit I want to make in people's lives now.
You have a very busy career.
Oh yeah. This is like a holiday for me.
Let me tell you guys, when I get Dr. Oscar into studio, I feel like I should lock everything down, clear the day, and you know, just make sure that he's I glean as much from him. And I know, I mean, you're my friend. You give me time, you give me airtime. We talk on phone and we share ideas. But I know how extremely busy you are. And I want to ask you two questions, just man to man, you know, brother to brother. One, how do you find time for yourself? How do you find time to, you know, the Kikuyu word is on my tongue. I'm trying not to use it. We're shocked, you know,
to return yourself
to yourself. So that's one. Just how do you find time for yourself, for you? So where you're not playing the role daddy, you're not playing the role husband, you're not playing the role lecturer, you know, you're not playing the role doctor, you know, you're just Oscar. And secondly, if you ever do find a time, then how do you balance? What have you found a formula for just balancing this world that you live in?
Okay. Wow, that's a very good question, and I think it's even going to benefit a lot more other helpers out there, and especially psychologists that I really treasure because I'm training a lot of them. And I want to lead by example, you know, not to burn out, because people's issues can be really heavy, and because it's real, and because when we engage with them, we're not necessarily removed from them. We feel people's pain and we walk with them through the darkest of their hours, and that's not really something easy. So one of the ways that I do that is by ensuring that my schedule has untouchable times. First of all, my Sundays are no-go zone for most people. And yes, it has family time in it, but it also has me time in it. Saturday mornings also many times are my time. So I dash to like the garage. I love cars. I love fixing cars. I love upgrading stuff. So I take my time away, but mostly because I'm an introvert. What I've found is that every day of the week, meditation really helps me, and I've been doing that since 2007. And I think when we talk about the journey of my life, at one point I'll tell the listeners about the time when I went to Japan, and it changed me completely, transformed who I am. And I realized Japanese people, while they might have 24 hours, they live 72 hours worth of time in that 24. They have a way of extending and expanding time. And that's a skill that I've managed to learn. I do many things like you've mentioned, just on the fly. I'm a professor to SIU. I do my own consulting work. I do a lot of research. I do, conferences. I have responsibilities at home, and even with family, and even with my nuclear family, with my brothers,
family of origin.
Yes, exactly, all that stuff. So to me, it's important to just steal time. Part of it is like, even right now, my phone is on airplane mode. Some people complain they can't find me on phone and stuff, and I would just want to urge anybody who tries ringing me and not finding me, just realize I'm trying to, because what happened to Mani was this, about 2 years ago, and I think it was right after Westgate and after Garissa, and I'd been doing a lot of things in the media to do with trauma and everything. I kid you not. I used to get minimum 60 calls a day.
Wow.
60, not 60. And none of them were, how are you doing? All of them were, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? Can you do this? Can you do the other? And I found myself burning out. I think my year of burnout was 2016 or around 2016, 2017. So I deliberately started just taking a step back and I said, hey, what am I doing? I'm going to crash and burn.
Yeah.
And so I decided that I'll engage with things using the rule of thirds. So I have the rule of thirds that I apply.
Okay.
That means that every day, 24 hours, I split into 3.
Okay. So like bands of 8 hours.
Bands of 8 hours,
Okay.
if possible. So the first band is resting. Okay. And resting could mean sleeping or in a sedentary state, replenishing myself. I'm listening to your podcast. I'm listening to other people, edifying myself and stuff like that. So that's rest.
Okay.
Then I have 8 hours, ideally working, but that's not necessarily true because I don't necessarily have 8 hours of work, but working. So I know that I'm in that work mindset.
So you're researching, you're
absolutely
in class, you're
exactly.
you're
I'm consulting with students.
Marking,
yes,
whatever it is. Yeah.
And then I have 8 hours of life. What I mean is I spend time with my daughter every day, minimum 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah. Wow.
And I would love to urge all fathers, please, if you can, if it means wake up at 5 a.m., do it. You will not regret it.
No, you won't.
I'm hoping not to regret it.
No, you won't. You
Maybe
won't.
I'm speaking to myself in the future, right? So I do life. So it's time for my family of origin, time for my other family, brothers like you, other people who've come into my life, because I've realized that family is not just about blood. It's about
family. Some family you choose.
Right, exactly. So my blood family and my chosen family, as well. So I do all those things. I speak with my dad more than I've ever done in my life. My mom as well. And so it's kind of like, that really keeps me, and that it keeps me connected, because I realized when I was in the States for all the years I was away, it was very easy to just unplug and go into this funk and into this space where you think that you have your own small kingdom and you're doing all these things you think are important. And once you graduate, you realize it was only you who was celebrating. Everyone else is like, say what now? Graduate what? What are you doing again? Because you made it so important to yourself and nobody else was involved. And that's what I'm trying to do. I think I'm happier now just being able to enter into my car and roll out to this sacred ground and to hang out with you.
This right here, living truthfully space.
Right? And it's the middle of the week. And someone might ask, what are you doing? Oh my God, Prof, you're recording. I'm like, yes, because I've chosen that in my life. I will not burn out.
And this is therapeutic for me as well.
Yeah, it is.
And you know, I think there's a message you're telling men.
Yes.
I think it's for both genders, but I want to speak to my brothers.
Yes.
And say, don't feel guilty.
Yes.
For creating space for yourself.
Oh my goodness. Let me tell you, Amani, you have said it. I want you to kick back to those days in Deo, right?
Yeah.
Kick back. Me, in fact, the girl I used to date, she knows herself, and I'm sure she's going to listen to this. Our idea of a relationship was being together 24/7.
Yep.
And while it was really great for endorphins and love and all that stuff.
We used to wait for each other after class, and your shorty is waiting for you over there.
In fact,
to walk down to the cafeteria together.
Because of P in the love, passion,
yeah.
And even intimacy, because they're sharing all these things and life's journey.
Yeah.
But then here's the thing. After doing that for 2 months, you end up not having stories. Actually, people start fighting when they don't have anything new to tell each other. To fill that space, because nobody's, most people are not comfortable with silence. Start now noticing flaws and things you didn't why didn't you call me today? And it's like, you don't have new things to talk about.
Don't even get me started on that. But
so one of the things I tell people who are in relationships, or even with relationships with other people, step away, learn a few things, gather things, and so that you can come and have something refreshing to feel with each other. I wish people could learn that in relationships.
And people need to give each other space.
It's so important, like
to be you, just...
So a story is told about this famous artist that was not inspired. And he had hit let's say, artist block. Okay, so guy used to paint.
His creative block.
Yeah, creative block. So you got this creative block.
Painting block.
Painting block, right? And so as he's walking down the street, he finds this guy who's a beggar, seated outside an amazing structure. And right there, his creativity was sparked. And he said, oh my God, I'm going to do this guy's portrait. So he comes and tells, and because this guy was a celebrity, he goes to him and this guy's like, oh my God, Painter X has come to me. And the guy tells him, you know what? Since I don't have my brush and I don't have my toolkit, please don't move.
Sit still.
Just sit still. Let me go get my things and I come and draw you because you've become my muse. You're my thing and you're going to make me big again. So the guy goes. In the time when he's going, some guys come and say, oh my goodness, that was Painter. He wants to paint you. Wow. Do you know how you look right now? You're dirty, you need clothes. So the guys at the store come, give him endorsement deals, they give him, blah, the guy's in a suit, guy comes back. When the painter comes back,
finds a totally different guy.
Finds somebody different and he's so heartbroken. It's like, why? What did you do? What did you do? I wanted you the way you were, not the way you thought I wanted you to be. And this is the problem of that hostage. By the way, we are willing hostages. You're taken hostage by
Stockholm syndrome.
Stockholm. You start identifying with the needs of your hostage taker. Boom, bro. That one you've.
I'm brighter than I look, by the way.
Already just picked right. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
You're right. Stockholm syndrome. And so most of our relationships are you're taken hostage. Then now you start identifying with your hostage taker and you suspend your life. And that's how you find chicks, especially, are notorious for suspending their lives for the needs of the guy. And they start just losing their identity, who they are. And a lot of women, and because I know a lot of women listen to this podcast and will be listening to mine as well, I think it's important for them to know a new word called individuation. Being able to individuate yourself, to become an individual, but also part of a team. That you don't have to exactly lose your identity for you to fit in. It's about looking for intersections more than blending yourself into the other person. That is the key of not being a hostage.
I've got to let you go because I know you're trying to get back to school, but yes, we can't go before we discuss the next hottest podcast in town. In fact, I'm so scared because I'm like,
do not be.
I used to be king.
No, let me tell you something.
I'm playing with you.
I know,
bro. I'm so excited about your podcast. You're ready to start. Everything is set.
Everything is set. I mean, you've motivated me. I think the conversation is really growing, and because of that, I'm so excited to, I'll be launching in the next 1 or 2 weeks. Just listen out for it. I'll make sure that on your podcast you'll give it a shout out.
No. Wait. First, do you have a name for it? Do you know what you want to call it?
Well, I know, of course, it's going to be called the Dr. Oscar podcast.
Okay, the Dr. Oscar podcast. Okay.
But I'm going to look for what the first part is. There's some few words I'm playing with, but I'll tell you about them.
Okay.
But the Dr. Oscar podcast, that is the most essential part. I mean, just to that people know me as Dr. Oscar, so that's I thought as a brand that's important, but it's basically going to be provocative. It's going to be honest.
I can assure you guys it's going to be provocative because this guy is about to explain.
Yeah.
I hope justify why men cheat.
That's going to be episode number 1. I think that I've been really doing research and talking to people because I think it's important to not misrepresent the facts. It's important to just be like a photographer. Most photographers, the best photographers are the ones who don't apply Photoshop.
They just
as it is.
Capture the image.
Just capture it. Yeah. So that at least the listener can make up their mind at the end of it all. Because it's not about giving excuses, but at the same time it's also helping people to know when they need to seek help as opposed to just accepting things as as status quo. For example, we're going to be challenging the question that all men are dogs. I think that's more of an outcome statement than an intrinsic statement. What that means is men are not created dogs. They become dogs. And that's what I'm talking about, the creation of the dog.
listen, guys, you have to look out for Dr. Oscar's podcast. You're likely to be mind blown every time you listen to him, because that's what happens in almost every conversation I have with him.
Thank you, man.
I want you to recommend your friends, and I'm gonna post a link to your podcast once we have the first episode out. And please follow and subscribe him. Subscribe to his podcast and just show him as much love as you guys have shown me.
Thanks, man.
I want to thank you.
Wow,
for coming.
Wow, Mani, always a pleasure. This is a ball for me, and look, I'm happy that there's this space. I don't think there's anyone else that would do this better than you. So even as I start my podcast, I'll be doing a lot of referencing to you, because what you've done is groundbreaking. Thank you.
I think there are many men capable. I did it afraid.
Well,
but I did it.
That's the best way to do things. It comes out raw. Yeah. It didn't have to be rehearsed. It didn't have to be like fake. So
it's true. And I've had good help. I want to give a shout out to my boy Lee,
the best producer,
super producer Kanyoto.
That's right.
From Big City Studios. If you're looking to set up a podcast, I'd say come down to Big City Studios.
That's right.
Check out Lee and have a conversation with him. He's done a fantastic job.
He has.
Dr. Oscar, you're a good man.
Well, and so are you, Amani.
I can't wait to have another conversation with you.
We will.
Listen.
Yes.
Because you're starting your podcast, I'm going to give you a deal.
Please.
I'll be on a podcast once a month.
So,
at least.
Welcome.
At least. We can do more.
Well, no problem.
But I want you on mine once a month. That's once a month.
Hostage taking.
Hostage
taking. Nice, bro.
I want to say thank you to Dr. Oscar. I want to say thank you all who are listening. We start a new series. I can't wait to have that conversation. It might be a tad controversial, so it might need a little protection. But as we've said before, share this podcast with people who need to hear it. There's a lot of gems of things that have been said. But more importantly, also just please give me feedback. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you hear. Let me know what are your questions. Let me know what this podcast is doing for you, because that gives us life. It gives us fuel. It makes us want to keep doing this and be better at it. And God bless you. Remember, imagine life, though it's hard, can be done. And all you have to do is keep your head up and find some mind space for you. God bless.